Shot in front of a live audience at Margarita Republic, it's Shots from the Bench. And now your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another session of Shots from the Bench. It's only sports talk, and of course, all opinions are both fabulous and flawed. I'm Bob Wiltman. My associate's Bob Murphy. Greg Malinzuk's behind the scenes, running the cameras and keeping the sanity. We're here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. That's Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun is always seated first. We're here every Monday afternoon from 2 to 3, so come on up, down, and over and join us if you get an opportunity. If not this week, then next week. Like I said, we'll be talking sports. We'll be doing a little bit of trivia. We'll be giving some opinions. And as the year is wrapping up, we'll be doing some recaps. But, partner, let's just get right to the point. We got 2 more weeks left of the football season. No big surprises yesterday. Well, what was your take on what took place yesterday?
Well, before we get going there,
yeah,
just want to say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
This is our Christmas show.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you.
We're giving out some presents to some of these
players
in the NFL.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been an exciting weekend. Let's get that couple of things off our chest here.
Absolutely, I like to do that.
Going into the games, the exciting games coming up, and the games that just happened. What was going on with Odell Beckham in that game against the Panthers yesterday? And what a game that was! But man, that. It just went off and went crazy. I mean, I know that's something that you wanted to talk about too. But
well, no, that's a good point. The point is, this type of stuff is going to continue as long as the league, the referees, and the coaches allow it to happen. Right. Like I said, I'm not the oldest fogey in the world, but I certainly remember 2 or 3 generations of football, and none of this crap went on in the late 50s, the mid 60s. The coaches wouldn't do it. If you went out and did a dance, Lombardi would sit you on your butt for the next 2 games. Sure. The coaches, I guess they feel their hands are tied. The league certainly isn't doing anything about it, and the officials are probably too scared to do anything because the guys, especially, and I was even saying Antonio Brown the week before with the Bengals and the Steelers were doing that same goofy stuff, and I thought, why can't the coach stop it? Just have a seat. Sit down for a while.
Absolutely. In case someone doesn't know what happened in the game with the Carolina Panthers and the Giants yesterday.
Oh, gosh.
Odell Beckham and Josh Norman was the cornerback. He's the wide receiver.
Yeah.
They were playing against each other all day long. And in that game, which we'll get to the game in a minute, but this particular player, Beckham, was just pretty much headhunting Josh Norman. Nailed him several times. Got three personal fouls called against him during the game. One of them was a head slam.
I saw that. I saw the guy. He's
spearing. I mean,
he almost broke the guy's.
Absolutely. I mean, you would think the coach at least would have, Coughlin for the Giants would have got him out of that game and calmed him down. Because how can you be into the game when your main focus is after one particular player?
You can't. It's just not. You can't do it.
I mean, that's what everybody's talking about today.
Well, you're right.
You can't be focused on the game if you're just focused on retaliation to one player, no matter what he said to you or whatever.
Well, I agree with you. Like I said, and to me, the only way it's going to stop is either going to be the league, the coach, and I don't see anybody doing it. I mean. I guess they're talking about. We looked on the screen, and 1 game suspension. This is something that should be this should be 5 games. This should be a lot. I mean, he was in a foot of maybe ruining a guy's entire career.
He totally lost his mind.
He forgot what he was doing.
And that was Josh Norman, the quarterback.
That's exactly
of the
right.
Panthers, and
he wasn't playing football anymore.
He didn't care whether it affected his team or whatever. But you know what? They're still kind of in it. They could still, if they run the table and things happen, they could win their division. Be interesting enough if they have enough guts to make this the week they suspend.
Well, I don't think they can because, like you, as you probably are aware, and at least it seems that way to me, that they're going to hand down a suspension and he's going to appeal it. And if you appeal it, you can't force it. You can't force it immediately. So he can delay it through this year. So, but like I said, more importantly, it's just a silly. And like I said, here we are. I'm just looking at all of the asinine celebrations, and I can't we play football anymore? That's all I want to.
It's a shame. It's a shame. We're going to get into some other things here too, but
yeah, sure.
It's a shame because up until this point, what are you known for? What is Odell Beckham Jr. known for? Tremendous,
fantastic
receiver,
hands, fantastic.
unbelievable
great
catches,
great hands,
great player.
No
right?
question.
Now, what's he going to be remembered for?
Well, he's got nobody to blame but himself. You're right, but
let me just segue real quick into
sure
something that you don't want to be remembered for. Bill Buckner, back in the day, for the Red Sox.
Yep. A 300 hitter, but nobody's going to remember how many batting titles he was in.
Fantastic first baseman.
Yeah.
Great player. He's remembered for one thing, right? In Game 6 in 1986 against the Mets, the ball going through his legs and allowing Mookie Wilson to score.
A slow-moving ball, by the way.
So, that's the game he will always be remembered by that. And unfortunately, Mookie Wilson got on first base. My producer just reminded me.
We got corrected by. Yeah, that's why we pay Greg the big bucks.
It's funny. It's funny. I don't remember everything. But anyway, another guy that, Steve Harvey. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
Did you see what happened?
I didn't see what happened.
The Miss Universe Pageant.
And he was hosting?
Just the other day, yeah.
All right.
Yesterday, the day before, whatever it was. Announced the winner. But he announced the wrong winner.
You know what? I didn't know that. That's got to get you a game suspension. You'd think.
Here's another example of doing something that you're going to always be remembered for, despite your other body of work that you've done your whole life, like Bill Buckner, and like Odell Beckham, potentially. Okay. Steve Harvey announces that Miss Columbia is the winner. She should have been first runner-up for Miss Universe. They go over and they crown her. And he goes, "Oh my God, I made a mistake. It's
Holy
Miss
mackerel.
Philippines that should have been."
And here come the lawyers. The lawyers are lining up for this one. I can see.
Now they got to take the crown. So I got a Christmas present for Steve Harvey.
All right.
And I'm going to give. I think he should get. Everybody should take an offering, if you want, and get him a ticket to the Philippines for Christmas, because you know what? That's the only place he's going to be real happy to see him.
Oh golly! Well, I told you off camera I wasn't aware of that, but that's as bad as it gets. I would think. That's like having the Academy Awards and announcing the wrong person.
I feel sorry for him. I really do. I've always liked him. He wears his feelings on his sleeve. He's a really nice guy, and he's a good comedian. He's got, he does Family Feud now. He has his own show on TV. So anyway, I just want to get off on that because it did relate to Bill Buckner a little bit, about that.
Well, now you know what they have in common or what they don't have in common.
Right.
But they'll both be remembered for a couple of things that they shouldn't be remembered for, but it looks like they're going to be.
Yeah.
But,
so we can get into some of these games. Of course, the game that Odell Beckham was in there with the Giants was a crazy game.
That's a crazy game when all of a sudden it becomes what's he going to do next? And I mean that's what that game turned into more.
Sure.
Again, it was
the game itself was great too.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were up by 28 points.
Typical Carolina, though. When they finally get the game tied, boom, 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 come down the field, kick a field goal.
They had a 35-7 lead.
Yeah.
And everybody's turned the TVs off. You're not going to watch any more of that game, right?
You're right. Well, you're right. But these days, that's nothing. These days.
Eli Manning is just going crazy, throwing touchdown after touchdowns, and
to Beckham,
28 straight points. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, I understand you take your foot off the gas pedal, but this is a little much. You gotta play some football here. Play some offense again. Well, anyway, give my hats off to Cam Newton for having the composure to drive him down the field in that last series and getting the game-winning, putting him in a position to get the game-winning field goal. Too bad he had to do that, but that was a great game to watch.
We were talking about doing some predictions before we do any. One prediction I guess I can make before we get to the Super Bowl predictions is I would bet the ranch that Cam Newton's your Player of the Year. I don't see how anybody can even come close in the NFC, and of course it's probably going to be Brady again in the AFC. Although I guess there's some other choices, but Cam Newton, to me, is hands
absolutely.
down the player of the year in the NFL.
He's creative. I mean, he can take something out of nothing. And I've seen him throw off his back foot and throw lasers down the field 30, 35 yards. I've never seen too many people do that before. It's an amazing player.
He's won me over. I admitted skeptic at the beginning of the year, but he's done everything you can expect of a leader, a performer, and he does it with his arm, his head, and his legs. So he's got to be the hands down guy.
Well, they're 14-0, 2 to play. Almost lost. Looked like they could have very easily lost that one, but you know what?
They're beating desperate teams that need to win, and they're still beating them. The Giants.
Yep.
Giants, I don't know if they can play much better than that. That's why another thing.
I think the Giants, of all the teams out there, have had more moments of glory, and then so many more moments of not glory.
Well, I think I said
this year. I mean,
it's been a shame.
Had their moments this year, but they couldn't close the deal.
They've had their chances. There's no question
so many
about
times.
It. Closing the deal is something that they're going to have to learn how to do.
So last night, on top of the Panthers being 14, the Cardinals played a beatdown of the Eagles, 40-17.
And the Eagles needed that game. I mean, that's how good these teams are. Arizona's don't blink. I mean, they have as much a chance. Seattle,
8
Carolina, those are all. Any one of those teams, it wouldn't surprise me.
Cardinals 8 straight.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Looking really good. Carlson Palmer. You know what? Their running back went off last night.
The young
Johnson,
kid. Yeah.
187 yards. Carson Palmer had a pretty good game, 274 yards passing, but it was the running game that really got it going last night for them.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like I said, it's the NFC's got 4 or 5 teams that can all pull that off. And I'll tell you what, we're going to get into more discussion about them, more discussion about the NFL, a little bit about college football, and we'll talk about our making our Super Bowl predictions even at this early time. So we'll be back right after this break with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench. Okay, we're back with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench here at Margarita Republic, where the food, fun, and fellowship's always seated first. And partner, before we talk about, I know I'm with bated breath waiting for yours as you're waiting for my Super Bowl predictions, even at this early time. I wanted to talk a little bit more about this past Sunday in the NFL and your take on. Let's finish up on the NFC first. We got nothing but the contenders. There's no pretenders there. You've got Seattle, you got Carolina, you got Arizona. My gosh, that's.
And then we got the Packers.
And the Packers
and the NFC East.
Packers and the Vikings even. I mean, all those teams have the potential to win that.
Oh sure. A lot of these teams
division.
are playing well right now. Seattle definitely on the upswing.
Seattle is.
They're the number 1.
Amazing.
Wild-card team right now.
Amazing, yeah.
And the Vikings are right there with them.
Sure.
Of course, a lot of things can happen. The Eastern Conference. I mean, the Eastern Division is still crazy in the NFC. You got the Redskins finally at 7-7, 1 game ahead of.
They look like they're
Redskins
trying to assert themselves, but that could be over with next week when they play the play the Eagles. So you don't know.
If the Redskins win next week, they win the division.
Absolutely.
And that looks like they should.
They should, but I tell you what. After I saw the Eagles' performance yesterday, I thought,
Kirk Cousins has really played well for them.
Yes.
Another 4 touchdown passes, 319 yards passing, and it seems like he's been doing that just about every week the last few weeks.
Well, like I said, they're 7-7 now, and like I said, we'll see how good they are. Right. This is the game. This signifies their year right there. If they've made the strides, they should be able to handle Philadelphia next week.
Yeah, the Eagles didn't look like they had much last night, losing to the Cardinals.
Scratch your head. Sometimes they look good, but that team beat the Patriots in New England, and
the Packers won 30-20 over the Raiders. And they really didn't look that great doing it.
No,
their offense is still not quite.
They're in slow motion a little bit out there.
The same. You're looking at the Cardinals. You're looking at the Seahawks. You're looking at to a lesser extent, the Vikings even.
I think the Cardinals, Seahawks, and Panthers are the legitimate the legitimate three best teams.
Yeah,
now, who wins? Anybody can turn it on or off. But I think they were clearly not only the class of the league, but probably the class of the NFL.
Everybody I've talked to gives no respect to the Panthers.
I didn't.
I see no one giving them a chance to win the Super Bowl or getting to the Super Bowl. I think that's crazy, don't you?
I think it's really crazy when you consider that every challenge they've confronted this year, they've won. I don't care if you win by a touchdown, 3 touchdowns, or 3 points. They've answered it. They've come down the field at the end and won the ball games when they had to.
Right.
So that's the sign of a good team, folks. So I mean, that's
So it looks like
fantastic.
in the NFC, except for the East, the wild card looks fairly certain. The only thing that could change there pretty much is if the Vikings win their division, and then the Packers move down into the wild card.
that possibility still exists. So
Seattle, I don't think they can catch. No, they can't catch.
No, Seattle's not going to catch the. Who are that? Arizona? Is that who they're in?
Yeah.
No, they can't catch them.
They can't catch them. They're 12-2, so that won't happen. But so they're a lock for that number 1, wild card spot.
Sure. Well.
So anyway,
the NFC, like I said,
NFC, interesting.
I think it's more balanced, a lot more competitive than the AFC. And speaking of the AFC, nothing big surprising yesterday. I guess you want to. Give the Steelers some kudos for coming back from 27-10, and they did come back from 27-10 and win the game. But
Broncos had a 17-point lead.
That's what I'm saying. It was 27-10. It was a 17-point, and then the Broncos shut it down, or at least they didn't. They weren't able to execute like they were executing. Bottom line is. It was a game. I think the Broncos found out that maybe they're going to have to go with Osweiler. Looks like he's been a little more.
He looked great in the first half.
He gives them some dimensions that are sad to say, but it's the truth that Manning just doesn't give them now.
Well, he's definitely the quarterback of the future of that team.
That's
and he's got a lot of talent for he's been around for a couple of years.
Well, it's working out fine for him because
watching the great ones play.
He's learning. He's baptism under fire. He's getting thrown into the pennant race, so to speak, and holding up very well.
In that game, Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, Roethlisberger.
He became the 6th quarterback in NFL history to pass for over 3,000 yards in 10 straight seasons.
And you know what? That's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
6 and think about that with all the quarterbacks and all the passing going on. 6 in history that have had 10 3,000-yard seasons in a row. Is that what you said? That's
10. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's of course that's
6 times have been done.
That's what happens when he basically started right out of the blocks. So that's but that's quite an accomplishment. And I was looking at the games next week to see if there's anything even worth sitting on your hands for, and I guess there are in the sense that you got Houston at Tennessee. And Baltimore, Indianapolis is playing at Miami.
Yeah.
If they win and Houston loses, they flip it right back.
Right.
So we'll see. Baltimore looks like Indianapolis looks like they're very offensively challenged at this point.
Yeah, it looks like the Texans are the team in that division that's more upbeat right now.
They got more defense.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But then again, you've got, like I said.
They played in the battle of the backup quarterbacks yesterday. They had Brandon Wheaton starting for the Texans yesterday, and they had of course Matt Hasselbeck for the Colts.
Yeah, and then he ended up, and then you got Whitehurst in there, right? Because I guess Hasselbeck got hurt again for a little bit, but that's going to happen when you're 40, and Watt hits you a couple times. I mean, that's the way she goes.
Sure, but that AFC is you got the Broncos. In a tough battle now with the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs came out of nowhere. They've won 8 in a row.
Well, you're exactly right, and that's amazing because the Broncos have to play Cincinnati next Monday night, I believe, or Sunday night. Bottom line, and this is very, very possible. If the Broncos lose that game, not only will they have a chance to lose the first seed, or at least to not win their division, they have a chance to not even make the playoffs.
It's possible.
They lose their last 2 games. I mean, can you imagine that?
3 teams battling for the wild card: KC, the Steelers,
and the Jets.
And the Jets at 9-5. They're 10-4.
If they all play it out,
their next 2 games,
you could see it happen. I mean,
could happen.
I don't expect it will.
It's hard to believe.
But I'll tell you what, that's stranger things have happened.
In that game, A.J. McCarron made his first NFL start.
Yeah.
Do you know that he's the first Alabama quarterback to start a game and win a game since 1987?
I did not know that. But I'm trying to think of what other Alabama quarterbacks were in the league during that time.
Usually when you think of players coming out of Alabama, they're great defensive
you don't think,
players, great running backs.
Outside of Namath, I'm trying to think of what other quarterbacks.
Usually not too many. They're not like LSU or some team like that.
That's right.
They're not a quarterback factory normally. But
You're right.
He played very well.
Well,
he looked really good.
You know what? He obviously solidified them, and that's they need, because I don't know how long it's going to take for Dalton to get back, but they're going to need to keep winning, especially next week.
They're saying he could be back next week or the week after, so I mean, that's enough to get him.
Well, it's a big game they have next week against Denver, so we'll see how that holds up.
Yeah.
So you got them, and of course you got Giants at Minnesota. The Giants are kicking and screaming and clawing. Minnesota's got to win that game just so they can get to the
they want to get to that last
big game against the Packers. So that makes what I thought was initially not that great a slate into a pretty exciting bunch of games, because a lot of teams have a lot of things that they're playing for.
Right.
So with that in mind, we'll stay close to the TV set, and what we'll do. In fact, I just looked at Coach Greg, and I think he's giving us the wrap it up for the. No, he tells me I can't. So it is my Super Bowl prediction, and I'm going to give you mine real brief.
Okay.
And mine is I expect that it's going to be Seattle and New England. I still see. To me, they're the 2 best teams in each conference. I know Carolina's undefeated. I think if Seattle, when they're playing good football, they're the best team in the NFL right now. I honestly believe that.
Okay.
So, how about you? What's your take?
Well,
Don't go with your heart.
Don't go with your heart. You a little bit on this. I mean, yeah, you could be right. You could be right, but I'm going to differ with you a little bit.
All right.
I'm going to pick the team what I think has the most dangerous offense in the AFC. And that's going to be the Bengals.
All right.
To win the AFC.
You like the Bengals?
That's Andy Dalton's back.
All right.
Andy Dalton's back. I think that's who's going to win.
Not a bad pick.
In the NFC, I was tossing back and forth that Seattle one too.
With Carolina and Seattle.
I'm looking at Seattle.
And Arizona even. That's tough.
Arizona, the Panthers. That's a tough one, but you know what? I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
All right, there you go. So we got all sorts of you got the two best experts in the villages, right? And we're differing on things.
I guess I'm going offense, folks.
I like that, and I'm going with old tried and true, and I think Seattle's ready for their third shot, third time in a row, and I think that Brady's ready for his 9 millionth.
Of course, I hope I wouldn't be upset if the Vikings ruined the party somewhere.
I wouldn't be upset if the Steelers snuck in either, but I'm a realist, and with no pass rush and no pass defense, I think it's going to be really tough to get to the Super Bowl.
So we'll see. We'll go back to the archives and see.
So that's our take. We're wrapping up the first half here, and we'll finish up here at Shots on the Bench. We're going to go in and find out what we did wrong, and we'll come back with the third quarter and talk about some college football and also talk about some other antics that bothered us. But we'll be back right after this with the second half of Shots from the Bench.
Hey, Ari.
We like to hear it.
Arizona's got a hell of a lot better team than Seattle.
I picked Arizona.
I won't argue with you, but here's what my opinion of Carson Palmer is. He's mediocre.
Hey, Artie, can I use a little Frosty the Snowman?
You don't. They don't have the good coach at Seattle.
I agree with that. I know that I can't, but I think they have the defensive. Their defense, I think, is very, very good. I think their quarterback is gifted, a little out of control, but for the last 2 years, I think they're only better than they were the last 2 years, and they made the Super Bowl the last 2 years and won one of them. So, but you know what? You may be exactly right. It could be every. How about Carolina? There you go. We're not giving Carolina.
No, we didn't.
They're only
Neither one of us
14-0, and nobody seems to think that they're
I'm
going.
not throwing Carolina out either, but Seattle is way down the line.
Well, you're probably right, but I just think that they're turning it on at the right time. I might be all wet. It might, but if they finish with 7-8 wins in a row, it's going to be intriguing.
Yep.
But I appreciate that.